Keyonte George, year 3 is what all of this is all about. Next on Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked on Podcast the #1 sports podcast network. I think I said we're free and available on all podcasting apps. Thank you very much. And to the everydayers, you're the best. Thank you so much. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel. All right, I apologize for the delay today. Here's why, just to be totally transparent. We're at a hotel, and my hotel is bordering 2 of our staff members' rooms. And if I had recorded this morning, it had to be at 6:30 in the morning. And so I was a little nervous about waking other people up. And so I didn't wake him up, but it then means the podcast is delayed today. So for, I guess, team chemistry and staying, keeping everyone liking me, I did that. All right, I did a bunch of late game watches. We've got some really fun stuff late in the show about the league, where it's going, players, way things are going, some trends in the league I want to touch on. I think we're seeing some really, really interesting and good coaching from Will Hardy. And I was going to lead with that today, but I'm going to start with Keyonte George, because really what we're watching from Keonte, and it is not a finished product yet in any way, shape, or form. And I will actually say I don't think we're in the clear yet. But what we are seeing from Keyonte George is exactly what this is all about. And watching Keonte right now, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, but maturity, leadership, all of those things. We'll dig into some of the bottom numbers. And why I was so bullish on him in all offseason is what this whole process is about. And it takes a long freaking time. And it's not always that fun as a fan, if we're totally honest, because it means a lot of L's and a lot of frustration and a lot of things of that nature along the way. But this is really what we've been doing now, frankly, this for 4 years, since we traded Rudy and Donovan, is going on the journey with these players and watching them develop. It's at this point last year, honestly, almost exactly the same with Walker, when we realized, something's really different, which, by the way, not to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but been doing this for 20 plus freaking years, is year 2 to year 3. But if you remember, Walker last year gets hurt early in the year, and right before he gets hurt, he's kind of dominating. He has a 18 points, 14 rebound game against Denver. We get the win against Chicago last year, and he's really good in that game. He has 12 points and 16 rebounds. And then it's actually late November, but it's actually the exact same games for him, if that makes sense. Like, it was his 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th games of his second season, where Walker goes on a 5 from game 12 to about game 18. Walker goes nuts. Walker comes out of that 7-game stretch. He averages, if I remember correctly, somewhere in the range of like 15 points and 12 rebounds and 3 blocks a game, and he's absolutely fabulous. We lose all of them. I think we lost literally every single one of them. Maybe one win in there. I don't recall. He's absolutely terrific. He slumps a little bit afterwards, and we wonder. We're watching the same thing with Key right now. And I almost wonder if you went back, it's probably the exact same show I did, frankly. But this is what it's all about. It's a long journey, right? So we're literally saying here, in Keyonte George's month 26 of his NBA career that we've watched him, And Walker Kessler in month 26 of his NBA career that we watched him. These guys suddenly are making really significant, monumental strides in who they are as a player. That's what this whole thing's about. That's what this whole rebuild's about. That's what this whole reload is about. This is what this whole journey is. We had the most bizarre experience with Donovan Mitchell, and it jacked up our brains. Because guys, first of all, most guys don't become top 10 players in the NBA like Donovan Mitchell has out of nowhere, relatively out of nowhere. But most guys go through, it takes them 3 years, right? Like Rudy Gobert started all of his games in his third year. He actually was Defensive Player of the Year nominee by the end of his second year because he was pretty great by then. And he's going to the Hall of Fame. But it's year 4, he's the number 2 Defensive Player of the Year, and then year 5, he's Defensive Player of the Year, and year 6, he's Defensive Player. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Both those two guys I mentioned are going to the Hall of Fame. They're unfair references to our players because I don't think Keonte's going to the Hall of Fame. I don't think Walker's going to the Hall of Fame. But we are watching normal, regular players develop in a natural pattern, and this is what it takes. And what we're watching out of Keonte is everything that we are really rooting for right now. But holy crap, it takes a lot of patience to be pleased with something 26 months later. Like, I'm not getting my oat milk cortado blue bottle for like $6 and waiting until 26 months to have it. I'm not going to Whole Foods today and going to get my Italy today at Century City and going to get my favorite chocolate and waiting 26 months to have it. Like, there isn't anything in life I wait 26 months for. Unless it's like stocks to vest. And that's a pain in the ass. So, like, truly, it's almost an impossible thing to ask us as a fan base to do. But that's also what I think we have to realize. Like, if we call it a 26, if our guys aren't looking better by month 26, it's a problem. Like, let's be perfectly honest. Like, if Keonte's opening month of the season was the same as his last 2 years, it'd be a real problem. It's not, though. That's what's so great. We're beginning to see the 26-month thing with Brice Sensabaugh. He looks way better this last week. That's the best week of basketball we've ever seen him play. Let's hope it keeps going. Kyle Filipowski and Isaiah Collier are at month 14. Let's see where they are at month 26, but I don't want to wait. I don't either. But you know what? It's what we're doing. Right? Ace Bailey is at month 1, month 2. Walt Clayton, who did not play in the last game, month 2. Walt Clayton might be a little different. He's 23 years old. His timing might be slightly different, but probably not a lot. That's where these guys are. Taylor Hendricks, I think we're at month 14. Maybe even when you start putting a tragic injury inside of it, you're suddenly putting him at an even slower pace because of what it's going to take. All right. Specifically, we've mentioned some of these things, but what are we talking about with Key? We're talking about, and what is this at 26 months that we're seeing? We're seeing maturity. We're seeing confidence. Very simple. We heard both Brice and even Isaiah said this the other day. We're seeing them having had the opportunity and the time to put the work in, to believe in their work in the process, to have it come to fruition. We're seeing them have an understanding and knowledge of the game and what works and doesn't work from experience. We're seeing them have the time to put in the work in their skills to gain the confidence to use them, and then we're seeing it manifest on the floor. That's why it takes 26 months. That's what we're seeing. I think the other night was huge. Keonte was so bad in the first half. I mean, let's just be honest. He was awful. And for him to come out of that was the 30% of the games we've seen out of Keyonte George over the years, that when he plays in those games, he plays at that level, it's not sustainable. It's not doable. It's not the future. It's literally, oh my God, he's going to be out of the league. It's door. We talked about all offseason. He has 3 doors to go through. Door number 3 is the Bones Highlands door where you bounce around the league for the rest of your life. Door number 2 is the Jared Bayless door where you play 10 years in league, but you're never on a roster for more than 2 years after this. And door number 3 is your CJ McCollum and you make $100 million. He's in door number 3 right now. But his first half the other night was door number 1. But he came out of it. Pretty incredible. He doesn't come out of that. In fact, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. He's got to take care of this. The door, let me be perfectly clear. It's like, it's not over yet. The shooting percentage numbers that Keyonte George has right now are not sustainable. He has to get better at he's had too many games of his career where he's under 33% shooting. We've talked about this all the time. He's got to take care of these things. But what we're seeing about Keonte right now is what this whole process is about. And it's kind of great. He's really good right now. We're seeing a lot of really special, good coaching out of this coaching staff and Will Hardy. I'll explain next on Locked On Jazz. Tuesday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai. I met the Murdochs probably 9 years ago now. Literally had to learn how to pronounce Hyundai. Since then, I have bought 5 variations of Hyundais, 1 Genesis, 4 Hyundais, 2 for my kids, 1 for myself. It's 1 for my dad. My dad paid for it. I don't want to make it sound like I'm buying my dad cars. We love it. The reliability, the price point, the gadgets and bells and whistles you get for the price point and the car driving. I can't really, unless you get some personal value in having a brand name that's super wildly impressive that next to you when you get out of your car, I can't imagine why you are spending more money than what you can for a Hyundai and what you get for that price point. It's incredible. So check it out. Murdoch Hyundai is located in Linden, in Salt Lake City, and in Logan. I can get you a VIP meeting at any of the locations. Just email me at dlock09@gmail.com. So I can do that for you. That's dlock09@gmail.com. dlock09@gmail.com, and we will get you taken care of with the VIP meeting at Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood, the new gold standard. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, but every day. Looking in on every opportunity, beating your PR, beating it again, channeling that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legend advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. That's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Today's show is also brought to you by Rippling. Rippling, I love this. This makes me smile every time we do this. Sorry, that's probably not what they wanted. But we're going to have a little fun with words. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make your work easier, but now the average company is bearing you by hundreds of apps that slow your teams and simply don't work together. That's SaaS that's become SAD, software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is a unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They're helping millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. And right now, you get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. There's more at Rippling, RIPPLING.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. Rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. For you super big diehard everydayers, I've got something special coming to you in a little less than a month. Opportunity, super fun program to launch. So have that for you. I think we're seeing really good coaching from Will Hardy. So I think there are three things that, all right, for most fans watching a game, I think there are two things that fans dive into when they think about coaching. And I can't blame. One is player rotation. And then the other is timeouts. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think two of the most irrelevant things in coaching are player rotation and timeouts. What I think is NBA coaching at this point is one, player relations, and two is game-to-game adaptability. And I think we're seeing fabulous work from Will Hardy and his coaching staff on player relations as well as game-to-game adaptability. So Will's been pretty hard on these guys after some of the games this year. Like back-to-back games, he lost it on them. And when he does this, I'll be honest, I get a little concerned. Like, gosh, man, okay. Well, guess what? They're reacting to it. Brice Sensabaugh got benched, basically got called out, and has come back as a different player. That's believing that what they're trying to talk to you about is real. The moment with Keyonte George on the floor the other night, where Will Hardy, and I'm going to seriously go Dr. Phil on this thing and probably overanalyze it. But Will Hardy, Keyonte George comes off the floor. He is awful. He's 2 of 14. He is awful. He is pouting. He is upset. He made a play at the end of the first half I thought was disgusting. He is awful. It happens. He's human. You can have bad days. I've done plenty of bad play-by-plays and bad talks. I've been a terrible CEO of Locked On. It happens. But Will Hardy walks in, puts a hand on each hip. It's a pretty intimate interaction right there. Like, if you don't really trust someone and believe in them, you're not letting them put both hands on your hips. You're not allowing physical touch. If you're Keonte, you're not doing it if you're Will Hardy and don't know that he really believes in you. I think it's a really interesting moment. There's 19,000 people, 18,000 now, watching that moment as well. There's also 14 teammates watching that moment. It's obvious to the crowd, the whole place. If you're paying attention, if you weren't in your phone, I'm kind of stunned nobody asked Will about it. I'm going to today. He puts his hands on his hips. He stops him. He's in front of seven, and they have a very detailed, not heated conversation at all. But to me, a very meaningful moment. And then Keontae's brilliant afterwards. I don't know that Keontae's brilliance afterwards is as important to me as the moment itself. This is a weird one for me because, like, I actually think someone will, I'm just going to be totally transparent here. I think someone will tell Will, and Will will look at me and be like, that I said this, and I don't know if Will will ever say anything to me, but he'll say to someone like, wow, so overanalyze everything. I don't think I am. I actually think it's that important to me moment. I really do. I think it's really representational of where he is as a head coach with his players and his ability to communicate with his players. And I think it's really important. All right. The second one is game plan adaptability. I kind of touched on this when we talked the other day when we talked about Lauri Markkanen. We ran like 25 picks to Lauri Markkanen the other night. We haven't done that all night. All year. That was because Chicago and Nikola Vucevic is the worst team in the league defending the pick and roll. We ran 74 pick and rolls against Chicago the other night. In a game earlier this year against Phoenix, we ran 29. That's a pretty massive swing. We have the worst pick and roll combination in the NBA right now in Keyonte George and Yusuf Nurkic. So you can either abandon the pick and roll or you can start to change the way you're running it. And so when you look, let's look at Lauri Markkanen. And then I'm going to expand on Lauri Markkanen a little bit. But Lauri Markkanen right now in the Chicago game set 31 picks and went for 47. In the Phoenix game where he went for 51, he went for 19. In the other Phoenix game, he set 5. Against the Clippers on opening night, he set 5 picks. It was not a part of what we were going to do. We're going to have Lauri run a bunch of off-ball screens every night. But some teams defend it in different ways on different nights, and we're much more adaptable than I have seen this year. Lauri has run more off-ball screens than anyone in the league by a million. Lauri, per 100 possessions, runs 40 off-ball screens a game. Or per 100 possessions. The next closest is Brandon Ingram with 20. The guys that play the next per 100 possessions, the next is Ace Bailey at 28. And then the next is Steph Curry at 27 per 100 possessions. And then Brandon Ingram at 24. So he's running almost 70% more off-ball screens than everyone in the league and about 50% more than Steph Curry. Okay. So that is clearly the essence of our game, of who we are and what we do. Lauri has ranged from 17 in a game to 50 in a game. And we've adjusted. Like the first game against Phoenix, he ran 50. I think maybe the game, he ran 50 in one game, he ran 33. Phoenix is interesting because we played him twice. But there's been great adaptability there in what we're doing. The other one is Lauri. There's not a player in the NBA that scores the way Lauri does without being able to dribble. Which means that Lauri's offense, and I've talked about this a lot with his assist rate and everything else, is created completely by system and coaching staff and the way we're using them. And they're doing a hell of a job of that. So I think we're seeing some really impressive coaching, both in personal relations and offensive adaptability. And I just want to call out. Late game watch, and it was awesome. I've watched so much basketball, and I loved it. It's next on Locked On Jazz. You guys must think I'm totally insane. You're probably right, frankly, that I am totally insane. And probably deserve to think I'm totally insane with that last reaction. Okay, that's not the probably ad lead-in that Rougette wanted for this, but let's talk about Rougette for a minute. Let's not be embarrassed by this topic or this conversation. I always feel like sometimes people are, but there's no need to make excuses. Doesn't solve anything. It's stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone. Let's talk about a way to improve performance. Sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and talk about things you want to be good at. Well, that's where Rougette comes in. Rougette is fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougette makes it easy to get started. Just get connected with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and that's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougette. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order and get your performance enhanced. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget the code LockedOnNBA. Rougette, RUGIET. Stop making excuses and start making moves. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. It's super fun to be right, and it's super fun to win, and that's where Prize Picks comes in for you. Prize Picks giving you an opportunity right now when you download the app and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get 50% off instantly when you play. You make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss on any excitement this season. If you haven't tried yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Pick more or less on at least two player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup up. You can pick Prize Picks. It operates anywhere, California, Texas, Georgia. Also, the new Stacks feature is game-changing. You can pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early, injury reboot saves your lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Mondays, we do Trends Mondays. Tuesday, we do Late Game Watch. Wednesday, we do Will's Wednesday. Hopefully, he gives me something. Thursday, we do Late Game Watch, and Fridays Q&A for our third segments. And Late Game Watch, I have a ton of games to watch. I don't know if I have enough time. I've watched a ton of basketball recently. Poor Chad Forcier, Jazz coach, and George Rodman, our Jazz coach, challenger extraordinaire, ran into me after I'd watched like 7 straight of these, and I just vomited all over them with information today, and they probably hated it. All right. Few things that are going on right now in the league. League-wide, I'm seeing late in games. No one can get the ball in bounds. Literally, no one can get the ball in bounds. And I wonder if coaches are going to stop calling timeouts to advance the ball because they can't get the ball in bounds. And I'm also wondering if there's some trick to figuring out how to get the ball in bounds. 2, we're playing as divergent styles of basketball as I've ever seen inside of one night, every night. For 42 minutes every night, everyone's running up and down, playing this breakneck pace, pushing the ball ahead, playing with incredible pace. In the last 6 minutes, it just slows down into the absolute grind it, pick and roll game. And I think it's a better representation of playoffs, but it's very interesting. It's as wide-ranging as I've ever seen. 3, I'm seeing more small pick and rolls, so not with a big. And I'm seeing more ball handlers reject the small pick and roll because people are all switching, and they're pre-switching it, and the ball handler's taking advantage. And 4, there's something going on with the Jalen Johnson, Denny Advada type player and how successful they are in this league and how they're not that great. They're not that athletic. They're not that brilliant. They're not that great of shooters. They're not, and yet they're somehow able to they're like Joe Ingles on steroids, and they're dominating the game. There's a phenomena here that's worth digging into. Okay. I got 4 games and not enough time. Let's start with Houston because I think they're most important because of the fact that they're really good. They are really good. They look great. Their late game actions look great. They're playing Şengün and Durant in a 2-man game. Şengün goes to the post, gets the ball. It's almost like the old school Hakeem Olajuwon bunch of shooters, but they're doing some unique things. And not everybody can do them, but it's worth watching. They have 2 non-shooters on the floor, which means the spacing should suck. But one of them's Steven Adams a lot of time, and he's such an offensive rebounding force, you have to stay body attached to him. And the second is Amon Thompson, and he's slicing the baseline, so you have to stay attached to him, which allows Şengün to just bump back. The first player removed where the double team comes from is Kevin Durant, and you can't leave him. And the second is Jabari Smith, who's a really good shooter. And once Amon Thompson slashes, Jabari Smith can go to the corner, and now their spacing is mammoth. Because if you rotate, you can't do it off Steven Adams because he'll just dunk or get the offensive rebound. And you can't do it off Amon Thompson because he's slicing the baseline. So you're either coming off Durant, which you don't want to do, or you're coming off Jabari Smith from a million miles away, and there's no way you can get back and bump out of it unless someone's got can do it in the playoffs with enough preparation. It's really tough to guard. It's really impressive. The other things, they're sometimes having Steven Adams out, then they're spaced and they slide, and it's still, the spacing's incredible. Şengün's just getting inside for a hook, and if you switch to Durant, you're screwed. So super interesting. They're even running pick and roll with Durant and Şengün, with Durant with the ball, with Adams low and Thompson slashing. So you literally have 4 guys going to the basket, but it's pretty hard, and they're getting 40% of the rebounds. Pretty wild. Orlando looks better without Paulo Banchero, which is worth noting. Desmond Bane is playing with the ball all the time, which I'm not sure is what he's great at. Anthony Black was playing instead of Jalen Suggs and looks better, but made 2 massive mistakes. Did not come off Jabari Smith to help on a Kevin Durant one-on-one late in the game and lost Amon Thompson on a back cut. So that's not great. Second-year player. That makes her a third-year player. That makes it hard. And they're smooth without Banchero. That jumped out to me. Hawks, Suns. Atlanta's fascinating right now. They are way better without Trae Young. They're playing. Quinn Snyder has the blender going. He's doing something interesting. He's getting into sets as fast as anyone in the NBA. Not that they're across half court, but that the minute they're across half court, there's a drag screen or some sort of action that gets his blender started with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and they're passing and driving and kicking, and it looks exactly in the blender sense of what the Jazz had going before. Booker was really good in this game, better than I've ever seen him, and then all of a sudden, he didn't get the ball. I think it's because of Dillon Brooks was having a big game and had 30 and then decided to take over late. I am seriously not sold on Mark Williams' impact on the rim in Phoenix. I don't quite understand him and how he fits into this and whether he's having an impact or not. But also might be because Atlanta just was moving it so fast and getting them all over the place. All right, so that was those 2 games. And I just hit a button, and I didn't mean to. I hit it twice. Denver, Chicago last night. Super impressive by Chicago on a double overtime back-to-back. They win in Denver. They're on fumes. They go 1 of 13 from 3, and they held off Chicago. They got a turnover on the vaunted 2-man game of Jokic and Murray. Gordon and Murray just missed a bunch of shots. I mean, I don't think there was anything that wild here. Vucevic hit a big 3, and that's actually hard for Jokic to defend. It makes me think that Chet Holmgren's 3-point shooting for Oklahoma City is going to be the key to the Western Conference. Jokic really not want to come out and play out there, and if Holmgren can hit 3s, Oklahoma City has the answer to bothering Denver in a way. I think Denver's really good. Everyone's telling me Oklahoma City looks like the best team they've seen since Durant's Warriors. I still think that Denver is real. That's a bad loss for them. Denver's floor last night was super cool, though, by the way, on that. All right. I will get to Boston Clippers. I will leave Boston Clippers and Portland Dallas for later in the week. That is Locked on Jazz. Thanks very much for tuning in. LeBron returns tonight. Lakers Jazz. Tune in. If you're watching SCG and Jazz Plus, flip to the stream. Have a great night. Thank you very much for tuning in. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked on NBA, or check out Game Night every game, every night on Locked on NBA.